Welcome to another episode of Pirkei Avot. We're still on the third chapter and we're going to start Mishna 8. Of course, in memory of Levy ben Moshe Esther and Leshevael ben Levy. And also, our shir should be in memory of Binyamin ben Moshe Esther. Okay, and this very exciting Mishnah, which we'll try and do Mishnah 9 as well. So let's start off with Michael.
Thank you, Rabbi Mashiach. So, here we're dealing with Rabbi Elazar ben Yehuda of Bar Tota. He was a rabbi of the 1st and 2nd centuries, which was equivalent to the 3rd generation of the Tanoim. He was a pupil of Rav Yoshua ben Hananiah and a contemporary of Rabbi Akiva, who in many instances disputed the statements Elazar delivered in the name of Rabbi Yoshua, and then himself delivered his own version in Rabbi Yoshua's statements. He is recorded only a few times in the Mishnah and the Talmud, and half of his recordings there are statements in the name of his rabbi. His students Gamliel II and Shimon Bar Yochai quoted halachic rulings in his name. And he was very famous for his charitable endeavors. While his name is connected with only a few halachot and even fewer midrashim, he gained a reputation for his charity. His motto was, as we're going to learn, give him of his own, thyself and what thou possessed are his. As King David says, all things come of thee, and of thine own we have given thee. And he lived up to his motto. It is related that he was so extravagant in his benevolence as to give away all that he possessed. Even so, even collectors for the poor would avoid meeting him. He was so generous. In illustration of this characteristic, the Talmud cites the following instance. Elazar's daughter was to be married. Whilst making purchases for the occasion, he spied these collectors of tzedakah who are hiding from him. He overtook them and begged them to acquaint him with their mission. They informed him that they were soliciting for a marriage portion for a couple of orphans, whereby he exclaimed, "Verily, that couple takes precedence over my daughter." And he gave them all that he had on him, all the money he had on him. Legend adds that he retained one zuz, and with that he bought wheat, which he carried home and put away in the storeroom. When his wife afterwards tried to open the room in order to see what Elazar had bought, it was found to be full to overflowing the grain. In the meantime, Elazar had repaired to the academy, and his daughter hastened with joyful tidings, remarking, and I quote, "Come and see what your friend has done for you." But when he heard the story, he consecrated the grain also to charity. So a very, very charitable man who gave instinctively to even over family, even over his own daughter's wedding, would give the proceeds that he was going to apply to his daughter's wedding to orphans' wedding, which was a beautiful thing. But immediately he was rewarded by God. For that one zuz of grain became a massive amount of grain. So just shows you the power of tzedakah. So what does Elazar ben Yehuda of Bar Tota say in this Mishnah? Rabbi Elazar ish Bat Tota Omer. Rabbi Elazar of Bar Tota said, "Ten lo mishalo. Give to him Hashem of that which is his. She'ata v'shalach shalo. For you and that which is yours is his. V'chein beDavid hu omer." And also is regards to King David, he said, "Ki mimcha hakol umiyadcha natnu lach." And I quote King David, "For everything comes from you," meaning Hashem, "and from your own hand we have given back to you, or given to you." So, very interesting. Bartanura comments on the quotation, "Give him from what is his." He says, "Do not prevent yourself from being involved in matters of heaven, whether with your body or whether with your money, as you are not giving from yours, not from your body, and not from your money, as you and your money are his." And what does Rav Chaim or Volodyin say? He's regarding the quote, give him from his own, for you and your possessions are his. He says, man has free will, the ability to choose between good and evil. If someone sins grievously, he may receive the ultimate punishment, that of losing the ability to choose. Like Pharaoh of ancient Egypt, he becomes but a puppet in the hand of Hashem with no mind of his own. We learned that in Rambam's Shmona Parakim recently. Yeah. He also quotes the Gemara in Shabbos 151b, give charity while you still have money and you are capable of giving. In short, give while you still have free will. Give him from his own. He comments on this. Although you have the right to choose, realize that your possessions come from him, for you and your possessions are his. If you do not give, he might take back your possessions, or even you, your free will. Alternatively, give him from his own. From your property, your energy, all come from him. At least give back from his, Hashem's own portion, from Hashem, at least give back from his own a portion of those possessions and that energy. Although Torah study drains energy, as we learn in 126b, and giving charity drains finances, these resources belong to Hashem even while you possess them from your hand they gave to you. These resources remain in Hashem's hand, and he can withdraw these gifts at any time.
It's amazing you said that, because just today I was discussing with a friend of mine who he was making strides towards a new parnasah. He basically was, a number of years ago, he was trying to get into a new area, and he needed money for this particular venture. And he approached a friend of his who sadly has passed away already, and he said to him, he didn't. I don't even think he asked him for money, but this friend who's since passed away said to my friend, you know what, I'm gonna I think either give or lend you the money. And my friend was aghast. He said, what how come? He said, no, I want to start you off, and because of this, my friend was able to start off his new business with this capital. And then a number of years later, this friend who passed away said to my friend, you know, I'm glad I gave you the money then, because I don't think I would have been able to do that now. I'm not in the position now, but then I was. So it shows you, just like Michael said, if you have the wherewithal to be charitable, give it there and then, because you don't know when you will have it again. It's one of the Mishnayot in Pirkei Avot. When it comes to learning, it says, don't say I'll have time to learn later. I'm not going to learn now, I'll learn later. Shema lo tipaneh, because maybe you won't have the time later.
It also says about teshuvah. We learned in teshuvah. You have to make your teshuvah immediately in case you get old and you won't have a chance to do it again, or you won't have the inclination to do it again, or even you may be taken from the world too early and you've not made enough teshuvah. Yeah, exactly.
Who knows? Yeah, because for the teshuvah to be effective, it has to be same place.
Yeah. Same conditions,
all saying the same.
You leave it too late.
Everything has to be the same. It's not the same when you're older. Anyway, it's a very, very interesting point, Michael.
So I think that basically covers that Mishnah. But let's move on to the next Mishnah. So
that's Rabbi Yaakov. Or maybe I should mention something about Rabbi Yaakov.
Oh, please,
Michael?
yes, please.
Okay, so the ninth Mishnah is about Rabbi Yaakov, and it says the Tosot Yom Tov says this is Rabbi Yaakov Kurshai, who is the father of Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov, who we know Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov is all over the Gemara. He's the one who was questioned about the about the Beit HaMikdash. What was the order of service in the Beit HaMikdash? He was an authority. So that was so Rabbi Yaakov here is the father of Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov, and he was a teacher of Rabbi Yehuda HaNasi. He displayed his loyalty to Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel by thwarting the plans of Rabbi Meir and Rabbi Nassan to embarrass him That's right at the end of the Gemara. Yeah, okay, let's finish off the thing. I'll tell you something interesting about that. Having overheard their plan to question his friend on the difficult tractate of Uktzin, he, meaning Rabbi Yaakov, purposely studied the subject aloud, within hearing distance of Rabban Shimon. Noting Rabbi Yaakov's strange behavior, Rabbi Shimon also began to study Uktzin. The following day, when Rabbi Shimon arrived, Rabban Shimon was well prepared. So you see, he avoided the embarrassment of his colleagues. I think that's, if I remember rightly, in the end of that Gemara, it talks about how one of them became Rabbi Meir became known as Acherim Omrim, and the other one was Hachi Itmar or something like that. They both had different pseudonyms. Anyway, Rabbi Yaakov taught that reward for the performance of mitzvot is given only in Olam Haba. Yeah, because that's the world which is completely good and endless. Lanetzach. One of Rabbi Yaakov's most famous statements is, he who is without a wife lacks goodness, assistance, joy, and atonement. Sorry. I'm sure you don't know that, but we're trying to make it other people aware of that, so you can listen as well if you want, Alexa. Anyway.
No, it wasn't his wife. That was Rob's wife.
It says some texts attribute this Mishna to Rabbi Shimon, but Rabbi Yonah and Tosfot Yom Tov reject this. Okay, so that's a little bio of Rabbi Yaakov. Okay, Michael, over to you.
So let's look at the Mishnah, and it says Rabbi Yaakov Omer. Rabbi Yaakov says, Hamhalech b'derech v'soneh, one who studies while traveling along the roads, umafsik memishnato, and interrupts his study, va'omer, and says, Ma na'eh ilon zeh, how lovely is this tree, or ma na'eh nir zeh, or how lovely is this field. Ma'aleh alav hakatuv ke'ilu mitchayev b'nafsho. The Torah considers it as if he is liable with his life. So Rabbi Yaakov is saying that if you find yourself on a journey, it's interesting that it specifically says when you're traveling along the road and you are studying and you interrupt it by looking out the window and commenting on how beautiful the trees are, or how lovely this ploughed field is. It's very interesting. First of all, there are commentators who mention the fact that he was traveling on the road. This, in particular, in olden times, was a dangerous thing to do. So whenever you find yourself in a dangerous situation, the first thing you want to be doing is be engrossed in Torah study, because you have the protection of the Shekhinah over you. And when you interrupt that, you put yourself in danger, because you're lifting off this protective shield, so to speak. So the commentators mention that.
It's amazing, because you say that, lifting off. If you're on a plane, that's also a place of danger. It's not always necessarily the safest place to be. So when you're on the plane, don't watch the movie. Get your Gemara out. Get your Pirkei Avot out. Do something in terms of Torah, and get your head down and steig. That's the best protection you have.
Yeah. Funnily enough, I've been on various old Chinese airlines when I used to travel in China, and I remember sitting on these old Tupolev, old ex-Russian Aeroflot planes, saying Tehillim from takeoff to landing, not looking up from my Tehillim. I was so nervous, literally, and I felt that saved me.
In fact, I remember your brother told me once, he said he was on an Aeroflot flight, that's a national Russian airline, if you can call it an airline, and he said, first of all, on the runway, they kept the pieces of broken fuselage. They didn't even clear it up. Yeah, planes had crashed and left bits of tail and the wing and everything there. And also, he said he was once on an Aeroflot flight where people were standing in the aisles. Yeah. Can you imagine that? Yeah. The whole time standing in the aisles. Yeah,
that's not health and safety like we know it. No. So what this Mishnah emphasizes very much the importance of not disturbing, not interrupting your study. The hefsek is the important word here. I must admit, when I was studying for these lessons, I found this a little bit difficult upon first reflection, when I thought to myself, can you really, just by looking at Hashem's creation, can it be deemed as something where you are liable with your life? Is it such a punishment? Is it deserving of such a punishment that you interrupt your learning by commenting on one of Hashem's creation? But there's a very interesting also concept of how lovely is this field. I believe it says somewhere that it's a ploughed field. And you can also look at the concept of the ploughed field as something man-made, something that's been produced by man. If you comment on things that are not really to do with the purity of the Torah, perhaps it's wrong. So there's a combination of the two things, a tree and also a ploughed field. And I had difficulty, even I was thinking, I couldn't find too much commentary on it. And I thought, how do I explain this honestly? Is it so bad to think? And a funny thing happened to me this morning, if you don't mind me telling this little thing that happened this morning. I was wondering, how do I explain this? Today I'm coming to Rav Mashiach's house, and I've got to give a good account of this Mishna. I've got to give a good commentary, and I thought, how do I do that? Because I don't believe it myself, but I don't understand it myself. And the funny thing was, I was davening this morning, and I was in the middle. It was in the last paragraph of the Shema, and my attention was drawn towards my window. Outside my window, there has just blossomed a pink blossom. What do they call it? A cherry blossom. Cherry blossom. A beautiful pink explosion. And I remember in the middle of Shema, I looked over and I said the very words, "What a beautiful tree." And I admonished myself immediately, because something that I have when I daven, I try for the short amount of time spent davening, I try to tell myself before davening, just concentrate on davening. Don't let other things creep into your mind. Sometimes I think about life, things that I've got to do during the day, they creep in. And when they do creep in, I admonish myself silently, inwardly, while I'm davening. So don't think of that. Again, concentrate. And it was funny that as I admonished myself, I realized perhaps it was a message from Hashem to say, this is what happens when you break I was davening at the time, but when you break doing something that's important, that's holy, and you think about something, even if it's a beautiful tree, it can be something that you can even find yourself willing to admonish. An action that your concentration was broken, and I had to find my place again. So that's a very interesting thing. So basically, Rav Yaakov was extremely showing how you can really take. You should really take every moment of studying as a highly important vocation and a very holy thing that shouldn't be broken. There shouldn't be this interruption. So that's the end of the mission.
Wow, fantastic! You see, these shiurim are not just. We're not just reading a script here. These shiurim are real. Thank you very much, Michael, for that incident that happened to you, for sharing that with us.
Yeah.
As it really makes our learning real, to know that we can that it means something to us. We're thinking about it.
Apply to every day. It applied to me this morning. Yeah. Exactly what I was struggling to understand was displayed to me in Technicolor.
Wow, beautiful. And I should also say that Michael actually showed me a picture of this tree. And
I took a picture because I wanted to show how beautiful this tree was. And it related perfectly to this Mishnah and the lesson that the Mishnah taught us.
Beautiful. Well, thank you for accepting that lesson, and thank you for sharing it with me and with the listeners on Torah Anytime. Until then, next week we'll be discussing, or next time rather, we'll be discussing Rabbi Dostai ben Yanai in the name of Rabbi Meir, and then Bezrat Hashem, we will have a nice long discussion then. Until then, I wish you to have a wonderful and fantastic and blessed week.